Welcome back, everybody. We are on chapter 5 in the book of Yehoshua, the book of Joshua. We've just seen that the Jewish people have crossed over from the eastern bank to the western bank and are now in Eretz Yisrael proper. And it came to pass, when all the kings that were on the side of the Jordan westward, kings of Canaan that were by the sea, heard that the Lord has dried up the waters of the Jordan before the children of Israel that they passed over, their hearts melted. There's an unbelievable thing over here, is that besides the fact that the Jewish people at this point have now entered into the land of Eretz Yisrael proper, all the kings that were inside the land of Israel have closed themselves off from fear of the Jewish people. So the encampment stayed in Eretz Yisrael, in part of the land itself, near the bank of the Jordan, and none of the armies went out to fight against us. Each one was so afraid of the Jews and saw this great miracle of the water of the Jordan and the Jews entering the land of Eretz Yisrael that their hearts just melted before us, and no one had the strength to go out and to do battle against the Jewish people. It was at this time that the Lord said to Yeshua, "Make yourself sharp knives and circumcise against the children of Israel the second time." Yeshua made himself sharp knives, circumcised the children of Israel. So here we see that during the 40 years that the Jewish people were in the desert, we did not fulfill the commandment of circumcision. Yes, the Jews who left, the first generation who left Egypt, fulfilled that commandment and partook of the Passover offering. During the 40 years that we were in the desert, we didn't. So the whole generation who eventually passed on, now their children had to be circumcised again upon entering into the land of Eretz Yisrael. The reason why the Jews did not circumcise themselves during the time of the desert, there's a few reasons that are given over here, and basically is because they were always traveling, or from time to time traveling, and they never really knew when they would travel, and this would cause a danger that if they would do this operation of circumcision, and they would then have to travel right afterwards, that this might cause a danger of pikuach nefesh, of a danger of life, and because of that they put off this mitzvah, this commandment of circumcision, until this period of time when they now entered into the land of Eretz Yisrael, and it is time to circumcise the Jews as we enter into the land, and now also the time has come to perform the Passover offering. Now it's interesting to note that this tribe of Levite, in spite of this danger that we just mentioned, they continued to circumcise their children throughout the 40 years of the desert. They were always the zealots, the flag of God, so to speak, the ones who stood up against idol worship when the golden calf was made. So they are the tribe that has come out always and continue to circumcise their children throughout the 40 years in spite of the danger that this commandment took part of. We also see from here another important lesson, and that is, of course, upon entering the land of Eretz Yisrael, the commandment, how could you enter the land of Eretz Yisrael uncircumcised? Obviously that's impossible. You cannot conquer the land of Eretz Yisrael in such a situation. The first mitzvah you have to do is to circumcise your men, and now you'll be able to fight against the enemies who control the land of Eretz Yisrael at this time. We note from here is that not only is the mitzvah of circumcision now given over, and of course it is time for the Passover sacrifice, but all the mitzvot that are incumbent upon the Jewish people to keep are kept only in the land of Eretz Yisrael. Everything else is a practice run that's done outside the land. So when we come back, as the Ramban and Nachmanides teaches us, they won't be new to us. There'll be something that we've continued to do. Take upon yourselves that if for the 2,000 years that the Jews have been in the exile, we haven't kept any of the commandments, we haven't kept Shabbos, etc., we'd come back to the land of Eretz Yisrael, nobody would know what to do. So we've kept them over the time throughout the lengthy exile that we've been in. So when we come back to the land of Eretz Yisrael, they won't be new to us. But in essence, the real place to fulfill these commandments are, of course, in the land of Eretz Yisrael. So all the people went out and they were circumcised, children of Israel, because they walked in the desert for 40 years, etc. And they now go and have the Passover offering, because this is the time, it's Yud Daled B'Nisan. We said that this whole story opens up on Yud B'Nisan, on the 10th of Nisan. Now it's the 14th of Nisan that they're already inside Eretz Yisrael. They've been circumcised, they've healed, And once again, we see that there's no fear upon the Jewish people, as opposed to, if you recall the story of Shechem, Levi and Shimon went down to the people of Shechem and killed them all off when after they were recuperating from their operation of circumcision. Here the Jews did not fear because, as we mentioned earlier, all the nations, their heart has melted before the Jewish people, so there's no fear of any of them, in spite of our situation of just going through this operation and going through the healing period. We weren't fearful that any of the nations would come and attack us at all. It was at this time that Israel encamped in Gilgal. We said that that's the first encampment of the Jewish people in the land of Israel, which is outside and opposite the city of Jericho. They made Passover sacrifice on the 14th day of the month at the evenings in the plains of Jericho, and they ate the grain of the land to the morrow of Passover, unleavened cakes and grains on this very day, and the manna ceased on the morrow when they ate the grains of the land. So here we also have a new chapter happening in history. For 40 years we had this tremendous miracle of manna, which was given over to the Jewish people. All their needs were taken care of. Food, daily food was brought to them. They didn't have to go out and to work and to have a panasah. It was all laid out for them. They would go out and prepare this manna, which was given over to them, and that sustained them for the 40 years that the Jews were in the desert. Now that ends. That chapter ends now with the entering of the Jewish people to the land of Eretz Yisrael with the circumcision and the Passover sacrifice. We start a new chapter, a chapter of Derech HaTeva, the ways of the world. Man, which is a supernatural way to live. Obviously not a normal way to live. It's the bread of angels, so to speak. It's not the normal way of existence. That chapter ended in these open miracles that took place during the desert. Now that you are entering into the land of Eretz Yisrael, it is time to roll up your sleeves and to work the fields, to produce the wheat, to go through the whole process. God gives a blessing to the work of your hand, and He brings you, just as He brings miraculously the man that came down from heaven, here too He blesses your field, and you're able to produce the produce in order to sustain yourself and your families. So it's a new chapter that's taking place over here, and it's a natural chapter. Man and Mayim are both come from the same letters, the same gematria, the same numerical value. Man, the food of angels. Mayim, water, is the same thing. One comes in an unnatural state and one comes in a natural state. I can't emphasize that point enough. In the land of Eretz Yisrael, it all goes according to the Teva. It all goes according to nature. Now it's time to go through the rituals of fighting, of wars, etc., planting. All of this has to go through the rituals, and we're blessed with the blessings of Kadosh Baruch Hu, of God, in order to fulfill everything that we have to do. And it was when this happened that Joshua was standing outside of Jericho, and he lifted up his eyes, and he saw, and behold, a man was standing opposite him with a sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua said to him, "Are you for us or against us?" And he said, "No, I am the captain of the Lord of hosts." And Joshua fell on his face and bowed down to him. Now, obviously this angel, the captain of the Lord of hosts, the rabbis teach us that this is none other than Michael, the archangel, the defender of the Jewish people. He has come in order to give good tidings that he is leading the Jews in battle. Once again, we see the same point, that in spite of the fact that God is helping us with these angels, still we go out to battle. We still have an army, and we have to fight, and we have to go through the routine itself. Now, the angel, obviously, when he appears before Yoshua, he appears in flesh and blood, and that's why Yoshua doesn't know who he is. He doesn't look like an angel. He looks like a regular person. Yoshua doesn't know if he's for us or against us. Once he finds out that he is the angel of Hashem, the captain of the host, Yoshua bows down to them. Chazal teaches us two reasons why the angel came to the Jewish people, why he came to Yoshua, the leader. One is that to strengthen the Jewish people in continuing learning Torah, that in spite of the fact that now we are obviously busy with conquering the land, going out to battles, etc., in spite of the fact, continue to learn Torah all the time. Whenever you have a free moment, continue to learn Torah. And the other reason is that you have to also continue to bring the daily sacrifice. This has to be done twice a day. So in spite of the fact that the Jews have now just come into the land of Eretz Yisrael, and it seems that over here that the previous night, before the angel came before Yeshua, the daily sacrifice or the evening sacrifice was not brought. So the angel is coming to tell us that in spite of the fact that, yes, you are very busy, you have a very busy schedule, but make time for Torah learning, and make time also for the daily sacrifices. These two items will ensure your Sata Dishmaya, your divine presence amongst you, and your success in all of your endeavors. The angel tells Yoshua, remove the shoes from your feet, for the place upon which you stand is holy. And Yoshua did so. End of the chapter. Interesting to note that this removing of the shoes by Yoshua is also mentioned 40 years earlier when God appeared to Moshe at Har Sinai at the burning bush. There too, God tells Moshe, remove your shoes from your feet, because where you're standing is Adamat Kodeshu. Now, if a person is understanding over here, and he sees that there is a slight difference between these two topics, these two readings, sentences of removing the shoes. By Yoshua, it says that the angel came and told him to remove your shoes because Adamat Kodesh. It is Makom Kodesh. The place is holy. But by Moshe, it says Admat Kodeshu. The word Admat is added. The land, the spot where you are. Meaning that when Moshe stood at Har Sinai, just that particular location was holy for a particular reason, which was to give the Torah to the Jewish people. That was the site. It was on Har Sinai. So God was saying this place is holy, as opposed to everything else surrounding you, which is not holy. But now that the angel commands Joshua to take off his shoes in the land, he doesn't say the place. He just says everything is holy, because everywhere in Eretz Yisrael has that special level of Kedusha. Our rabbis teach us that there are 10 levels of holiness that descended into the world. All 10 levels descended into the land of Eretz Yisrael. That means Eretz Yisrael is Kadosh, it's holy, and outside the land of Eretz Yisrael is Chol, is not holy. Doesn't have this holiness to it. That's the difference between these two sentences, between the taking off the shoes of Joshua and the taking off the shoes of Moshe by Moshe. It's specifically where he stood, because God was revealing himself to him, and later on the Torah would be given at Sinai. But here, in the time of Yeshua, he is told to take off your shoes, because everywhere you walk in Eretz Yisrael is Kadosh. And in fact, in reality, if that's the case, then really everywhere that a person walks in Eretz Yisrael, he should walk without shoes in order to honor the land of Eretz Yisrael. But of course, that is something that's not practical, because people will get hurt with rocks, etc. So we do wear shoes. But you should know that in reality, when we talk about the land of Eretz Yisrael, it has that extra level of holiness which the rest of the world does not. And so Yoshua was commanded to remove his shoes in the land of Eretz Yisrael when he spoke before the angel. Thanks for being with us. Chapter 5 of Yoshua. Levi Chazan coming to you from Yerushalayim. Till next time.